Welcome to Running for Real, a global community with a shared love and curiosity for running. Together we reconnect with the reasons why we love to run and discover ways it helps us become better people. Whether it's the quiet moments of a morning run while the rest of the world still sleeps, or befriending the strangers next to you at the start line of a race. We are here to connect with others who see running as the common thread that weaves our lives together. Come join me, Tina Muir, as I talk with people from all walks of life, united by a love of running. Hello, my friends. Welcome to episode 316 of the Running for Real podcast. Thank you for joining me. I am excited that you are here and excited to welcome back my guest, where this episode is between myself and a friend. It's gonna feel very, very casual and relaxed and just conversational, but I think it's also talking about a lot of things that we all struggle with. So while Sid Baptista has been on the show before, you might remember that this was actually an episode I recorded and then lost. I didn't get his file. We lost it. We re-recorded and did an episode together where he was half the episode. I was half just talking by myself about failure, about screwing up, about owning your mistakes, about being okay with mistakes. Now, today is a continuation of that, and I'll tell you about it in just a second. But who is Sid? Well, Sid is the founder of PYNRS Run Crew in Boston, the PYNRS performance streetwear brand, and he's a coach for Pace, which is an online coaching platform. Today, Sid and I are going to talk about how you might see from the outside how everyone looks like they're succeeding, that things are going up and up. And you're going to hear about some of the incredible opportunities that Sid has been given, but how that is always laced with crushing lows that make you even wonder if you can do this at all. This is a very raw conversation, a very real conversation, and I think it's going to really speak to a lot of us. I found it very cathartic. You're going to hear me being very honest about my own situation here. And so without any further ado, let's go chat to my friend, Sid Baptista. Thank you to Allbirds for sponsoring this episode of the Running for Real podcast. I want to talk to you a little bit more today about my current favorite shoes, the Tree Flyers. They have these in both men and women's. They have these in all kinds of beautiful colors, and I've tried 3 or 4 of these colors. I think my favorite is the Cream Hush, if you want to go check that out at allbirds.com. But what are the Tree Flyers? Well, they are the performance shoe that Allbirds came out with that have this bio-based Swift foam midsole that is light, bouncy, and ready for distance running, has a breathable upper to keep the air flowing for extra comfortable miles, and a heel counter, and it's flared with a geometric midsole to help keep your stride steady. Fun fact about that heel counter, they took the waist from the midsole. There was only a few, probably like half the size of your finger, 3 of them pieces of waist, so maybe a little finger and a half worth of waist, and they took that and made that the heel counter. Talk about finding creative ways to be zero or low waist. So you can go faster, you can go further with this Tree Flyer. It's lightweight, it's super springy, it's wildly comfortable. This distance running shoe is going to make those extra effort runs feel effortless. I took this on my 34-mile run, the longest run I'd ever done. They were very comfortable with that. I've taken it on workouts. I've taken it into the Maui Marathon, to the Boston Marathon. It has been a wonderful shoe for me to train in and race in, and of course it is made by Allbirds, so there's a lot of sustainable and genuinely sustainable, not greenwashed, sustainable pieces to it. There really is something special about Allbirds in the way that they are doing things, the way that they speak to their carbon number, what that is of the shoe, and by the way, for the Flyers it is 9.92 kilograms of carbon, which you won't get that from other shoes. So go check out allbirds.com to go see more, get yourself a pair of those Flyers and check it out. Sid, we have confirmed we are recording after me screwing it up last time. Welcome back to the Running for Real podcast. I, as always, am excited to have any and all time I can possibly spend with you. Thank you for being here.
Hey, Tina, thank you. Check. Let's make sure this is on. No, I'm joking.
We actually already did, didn't we? And I never do that. But I was like, after last time, Zencaster has changed everything. We are definitely checking this, but we know we are recording, so we're good with that.
Yes. I'm super excited to be here. I could say the same. Anytime I can get to talk to you is always great. Even though we exchange like really long messages, it takes a while, and then I just can never get enough.
I don't know what you're talking about with really long messages. You send me like 5 minutes. That's not really long. Do you know I've done a 20?
Pretty long.
No, it's not. I've done 23-minute voice memo before.
Okay. That's I don't know, because I have to pause and take notes to remember how to respond. Like I'm not.
I do have to do that when I my friends leave 10 to 15-minute ones. You have to take notes, so you're like responding back, and you're like, "What did you say?"
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
which I think I do with you anyway. But we do exchange messages probably a few times a month, and maybe a bit more. And I love that. But I'm excited to dive in a bit deeper today, yet still keeping our very casual tone that you and I have in our friendship. Now, I had you on in the past. We talked a little bit about your background. We actually talked about failure in that episode. Back to what I mentioned, that I failed to record the episode correctly. And today I thought we would lean on that a little bit more, because you and I have become kind of companions and confidants to each other for being an entrepreneur. Living the life that we live has lots of ups and downs. And there's a moment where something good happens and you think, this is the best thing ever. And then the next day something negative happens and it knocks you all the way down to think, like, and I know I've mentioned this to you, and I'm sure you've had the same thoughts, like, you know what, I'm just going to go get a 9 to 5 because I'm done with this.
Yeah. Some days in the same day, like morning and afternoon. Like,
yeah, exactly. So I thought we would talk about that, and we can obviously relate it to running, but I thought we would have a really, detailed kind of, I guess, to put it in a way that most people would understand, Instagram versus reality conversation, because I do think that's needed. I sense so much burnout from people right now that it is easy to feel like everyone else is handling things just fine, and you or me or whoever are the only one who is not. And so I think it's good for us to address this, and especially, you're an open book just like I am. So, is there anything you want to say? Firstly, just responding to that point of, it may appear like things are always working out when they're, what's going on behind the surface is not always what it seems.
Yeah, I think it's just acknowledging that it's everyone. This happens to everyone, and even though what you see on Instagram is just like all of the wins, there's still no way to really like train your mind not to like. Maybe there is, and I haven't figured it out. Train your minds on to not feel negative about certain things that you see, and then also beyond that, when you're doing so much, when you're so close to it, it's hard to kind of see like and like understand the good stuff that's coming out of a lot of the things you're doing. And the last thing I'll say is like it's happening to everyone. Like I think you plus like 2 or 3 of my other friends in the last week and a half have been like, I'm struggling mentally with something. But then from the outside looking in, even for me, even though I'm closer to all of you, I'm like, no, like you're doing great. Like you're killing it. You're doing this. Like my friend called me the other day and he's telling me how like, he's struggling with this. I'm like, bro, like you are killing it with this. Why? And he's saying the same to me. And I'm like, you're right. Like I am doing okay. Like, so, and I don't have an answer for how or why, but it's happening to everyone.
Exactly right. Although I will call you out on always seeing the good stuff. I don't know, you did message me, so I know you saw it, but I definitely showed one of my failures in clear sight the other day. And I don't know if you saw, but I did put up a video today of me that I recorded a few minutes after I fell over. And I haven't like the look in my eyes is like I'm a wild animal. Like
I'm gonna go watch.
I look like this. I'm like feral. Like I look very just in a weird state. So yeah.
I love that you share all of that though. I love that you share it. I share some of that stuff sometime. I'm not totally open book on social all the time. And part of the reason why I'm not is because I feel like as a leader, I never want to, a leader of a team and a group of people, I never want to show all of the challenges because like I have to like look, I have to assume the responsibility of being the leader that people can follow and can't just always show all of the negativity.
Sure. No. And you are in a different position to me in that way. I've kind of built my brand around that. But you obviously are in a position where you're trying to take we can obviously talk about PYNRS Performance Streetwear. You're trying to make this into, a big brand, a company, and where you can't, I'm just kind of sharing as part of my personal brand. But on the note of social media, you took a break away from it. Was it from end of April till, what was it? End of July? August?
Early August, end of July. Yeah, I took a solid 3 and some change months away from it. And it was because I had like all the success in April. We did the pop-up on Newbury Street. You came to it. Loved the time we spent there. One of my highlights, I think we might have talked about it before, but one of my highlights was having you in the space. And I was having like all the success. We did like the biggest sales numbers that we've ever done. So many people came through and supported, and just like, it was like a star-studded event. Right. And then after, I was just like only going and thinking about what didn't go wrong or who didn't come and who didn't support. And I just was like, what's wrong with you? Like, you have just had all the success and it's not good enough. And what's going to be good enough? So then I had to just like reevaluate what I was doing. So social media was the first thing that I was like, this has got to go.
Did you recognize social media was doing that to you?
Yes. And it's not always been like that for me. And what I've learned since is that there are different people, there are different type of personalities on Instagram, or because that's what I use on social media. There are the people who scroll and the people who post. I used to be a person who posted, and I never dealt with kind of the issues I'm dealing with now. But as I built the business and I got more into like the business side of it and less on like the social side of it, I stopped posting and more scrolling. And that's when it came like and I looked into it, and it was like the people who scroll the most tend to suffer a bit more from like the mental health issues like associated with social media, versus the people who post more. They don't necessarily deal with it as much. And that's kind of what I've read on the subject a bit.
Yeah, well, I actually, I definitely resonate with that. I mean, I am in a stage where I post and kind of go out and that's all I want to do. Instagram punishes me for that, and I don't really care. But I remember watching a video of someone talking, I can't remember who it was, and they were saying that, when you scroll, you're seeing someone cooking a fresh meal with, all these healthy ingredients, and, making yogurt from scratch or whatever. And your mind thinks, oh, I should make yogurt from scratch. And then you go down and someone's building their own deck. And you're like, oh, I should build a deck. And then you go down and you see someone running fast and you're like, oh, I should train to do my best. Right. And your brain is like taking in all these messages and being like, I should do that. And then we're just feeling so overwhelmed because we can't do all of that. So yeah, I definitely understand that. And so what did you notice then? Because, I know you were on the Morning Shakeout with Mario, which I loved. And
thank you. That was because of you in the space. You brought Mario to the space and made the introduction. So thank you.
I did love connecting. I knew you two would get on, and I was very excited to do that. But I definitely encourage people to go listen to that. And I know you talked about this a little bit with that, because Mario is another person who has stepped away completely from social media. He's done well with it, and every time he talks to me about it, I'm like inch closer to that step, but I haven't made it yet. But he I would love to hear, now you can reflect, and maybe as now you've gone back to it and you're back on it, what did you notice when you stepped away, and then what have you noticed now as you started adding it back in?
When I stepped away, I just noticed how much I just felt so free.
Did you twitch for a while, like kind of reaching for it, or not?
I probably did. I don't remember, because that's because that actually does happen when you take away something you use so much. I signed out of all my accounts, including my business one, which that really tanked my business. Like getting off of social media tanked my business because, and that, so on one end, it was good for my mental health. On the other end, it wasn't good for my business because we did like nothing while I was away, in terms of sales. But I want to say early on, it was definitely hard, definitely not easy. I would just like, then what replaced it was like the 3 or 4 websites that I hit automatically, like ESPN, CNN, Boston.com, and like, you know, whatever it was, the New York Times, I don't know. Like, that's what then filled that. And now I'm like, all right, now I need to figure out how to get away from that too, because that's also just mindless consumption of media that's just negative too. So that didn't really help, right? And adding it back in, just realized that nothing changed. Like it's the same. And I actually was pretty overwhelmed adding it back in because I had a backlog of messages. And then the reason why I even got on was because I was like shocked that my wife and I are having a baby girl. And we had like, I just 100%, like 95%, 100% sure it was going to be a boy. But once it was a girl, I was in shock and I posted it. Like that was my comeback. I was like, I just posted, like I went out, I was like, I got to post this. And it was like, oh, like, why'd you do that? And now I'm like on there and I'm like, oh, I don't even want to come on here. Then it was my birthday. So there's a backlog of messages that are still there that I haven't been back to. And that was also a little bit of anxiety, but I'm not putting pressure on myself. I'm not. And that's okay. Like,
you're absolutely right. Yeah. It is. You used the example to me when you told me about this of like when you take a vacation from email and you know, so everyone listening can resonate with this, even if you've never stepped away from social. When you take a week or so away from social, I mean, you mentioned in this message that you kind of get an urge to go do something halfway through or at some point because you're like, I just don't want to have to deal with it in one go. And so I think everyone can resonate with that in terms of that overwhelm of coming back to it. And I want to dig in, or did you have anything else to say on that?
No. And the other social pressures of being on social is that like everyone's doing things and seeing things that you're not like. So my whole my PYNRS Run Crew captain team would like reference and talk about things that they're doing and posting about, and I'm just like, no context as to what's going on, right? No one knows what I'm doing in my life. They all know what they're doing in their lives. Because a lot of what we do is just checking on people via social. Like, you're not asking people where they are anymore. And I even read something recently, like even the younger folks are checking in on like locations. Like instead of being like, hey, Tina, where are you? I'm like, we're sharing locations with each other and I'm just checking to see where you are instead of having those conversations. So like a lot of like the text messaging and conversations we used to have, we just don't, because we just look on social. And so when I wasn't on there, people were like, I don't know what you're doing anymore. Like, what are you doing with your life? Like, I don't know. I'm taking my son to the park and doing that. And then people were like, oh, I invited you to this event. I'm like, oh, you did? Where? I sent it on social. I'm like, if you haven't noticed, I'm not on social. So I didn't see it. So don't be mad at me. So that's the last thing I'll say.
That's funny you say that, because one, I'm envisioning teenagers sending a location and then responding with an emoji or like a meme or something. And then, you know, responding back with a little video of what they're doing. And when you think about that's two people communicating without actually communicating. Like that's such a crazy, like, mess with your head to think about that. And then, what's the other point I was going to say about, you were saying about, you know, not knowing where people are, what they're up to. I get that a lot when I talk to people, because I do put so much on social media. I feel like when I see people, they're like, so what have you been up to? And I'm like, well, actually, like, you've told me that you know what I'm up to. But I have literally no idea what you've been doing. So please, can we talk about you for a change? And so I can imagine it's weird coming back into that stage. One last thing on social. So you said about it, you know, not being great for business, and how did you handle that mentally? Because that is the fear, right? For many people in the position where you do, anyone who's trying to grow a brand, who's trying to, even if someone listening wants to be an ambassador for something, that's the fear, right? Is if I step away, then I lose that. So how did you handle that mentally? What did you do?
I don't know that I mean, it didn't help.
Mm.
It didn't help. It didn't help my mental health, that the fact that like my business was tanking during that time. And I didn't really have, I don't know. I didn't do, yeah, I don't have a good answer for that. Like it didn't help. And I was like, you know what? I'm okay with, and I justified it because I had such a great April.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, I'm okay. If I need this for my mental health, I'm going to do it. And I need to figure out a way for this not to be, for the business not to be me. But to be honest with you, now I know that the business I can't do that. Right. Like, so then I have to come up with strategies to just not be the scroller on Instagram and be more, go back to what I was before, which was like, posting. And I don't know what that looks like yet. But I know that if this business is going to be successful in its early stages, I need to be the face of it. Unfortunately, I don't really want to do that, but I do. That's what I've learned. And we'll talk about REI and all that, but that's what I've learned through this program that I'm doing with REI is like, you need to be the face of it. So don't go hiding. Yeah. But now it's like, how do I put strategies in place to make sure that I'm not affecting myself? So still working on it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's hard.
Yeah.
So overall, last question on this. Overall, would you say it was worth it for you? Or would you, if you could go back, would you still think it was worth that time off?
100%. Because now I have a way more control over social. Like now that I'm back on, I'm just like, I'll go on, but I'll get off. Like I don't have the urges of like being on 100%. See, scrolling mindlessly. I don't even do that anymore. Like, and if I go on there, I just get off. So, so yeah, I mean, yes, everyone needs a break, I think.
Yes. No, I'm with you there. I'm probably do that. Let's talk about highs and lows. So you mentioned Boston was a huge success. You had a store, a pop-up on Newbury Street. You said, sales were great. You had a lot of important things you were doing. You were also on panels and, just around the city with events that were going on, which was just really cool to see. You also recently won Black Ambition Prize, which is, you can explain that in a minute. And you mentioned REI, the Path Ahead Ventures.
Yeah.
So those are three big high things. And obviously you've mentioned there's lows in terms of mental health, lows in terms of sales, which is a critical piece. But let's talk about some of the ups and downs here, how it feels to, come away from Boston. Let's start with that. You had this huge runaway time in Boston. You kept the store open till the end of the month beyond Boston. And you've mentioned after that you started being critical with yourself. But in that moment, were you able to celebrate what you were doing, or were you immediately going to the next, like, well, this is what I did this year, what am I going to do next year? Yeah,
that's a good question. I definitely, through Boston, I definitely was like celebrating it, because it's just like, it was like so much hard work to get there. And then like, I was like in the moment and experiencing it. And I was honestly super tired. So like,
I bet.
It was like this level of elation where it was just like happy that like things are working and it was, it was going well. And I definitely celebrated that for a bit. And then it's like, unfortunately, it's like, what's next? Like, all right, you did this month. What can you do next month?
Yeah.
It's like, and then when you don't, and then when you fall a month and you fall a second month in terms of sales, but when I'm looking back at it, I'm like, well, those are the 2 months that I applied for all these things that I didn't end up getting the month later, right? Like I spent all this time hibernating, planning, applying and interviewing for these programs and projects. And then in August, it all just came to fruition. But I'm not thinking of that. Like, I'm just like, oh, the sales were down. Like I'm forgetting what I was doing. Right. Like, so yeah, it's just really weird.
Thank you to Athletic Greens for sponsoring this episode of the Running for Real podcast. Now, you've heard me talking about Athletic Greens for years now. It allows you to say goodbye to piles of pills and countless powders. One daily serving of AG1 delivers this potent blend of 9 health products, a multivitamin, minerals, probiotics, adaptogens, and more. It's the comprehensive foundational nutrition you need with the convenience for your life demands. Now, that applies to me in a way I cannot even describe. With 2 young kids, I know I should be getting 27 different fruits and vegetables in a day, but honestly, some days I'm lucky if I can get 1 or 2 at dinner. And it is difficult for me to take care of myself with just this hectic life that I live. So while I want to make these green juices every morning, with a juicer machine with the kale and the ginger and the lemon and all those other things, I just don't have the time for it. I can barely get to stuff something down my throat to eat. And I love that I can wake up before the girls wake up, drink down my 1 scoop of Athletic Greens with ice cold water, drink it down, know that I've got 75 vitamins, minerals, and whole food source ingredients to start my day, so that even if that day ends up being hectic and running around all over the place, I know I've got that in. It tastes good. It's almost a slight pineapple-y taste. I love drinking it before I run. I drink it and go immediately out the door. It's going to help with your gut health. It's going to support your immunity. It's going to boost your energy and help with the recovery. What more can you ask for with 1 scoop? So you can go to athleticgreens.com/Tina. You will get 5 free travel packs and a 1-year free supply of vitamin D3 and K2. Now, as we head into the winter months, that is when we need that vitamin D, and it works well with the K3 as well to absorb better. We need those to protect us from all the nasty sicknesses that are coming around. So be sure to go to athleticgreens.com/Tina to go check out my special offer and stop stressing about not getting those fruits and vegetables in. This is going to take care of you. I wonder how much of it is with things like that. And I know this from myself, from like outreach to brands that I would love to partner with. You put in all this time and energy, really giving your best, putting your best foot forward, in your case, applying for these grants or opportunities. But we're so used to immediate gratification that when you do that and then there's a delay of a month or 6 months or whatever, it feels you've like expended energy, but nothing's come back yet. So it's almost like those days where you have meetings all day and you get done with the day and you feel like you've done nothing, even though you've actually done quite a lot. You just haven't done the checklist of like to-do list things. Right. So I wonder how much of it is that you kind of, with entrepreneurship or anything we do, this could relate to running too. Like you give so much in something, but in every element of our lives, we're used to just like give, get. And so it's hard to.
That's true. Yeah. We're so accustomed to it now. I'd also attribute it. So that's probably it. And I hadn't thought of that. I also attribute it to, I had some like changes on my team. Like my product person left and my finance person is just like really behind on my numbers. And so like, I don't feel like I have this foundation under me of support. Mm-hmm. And I'm a solo founder, and I know that like to be successful in 2023, I need to be planning now, and I'm not doing any of that. So it's a lot of anxieties about like what's not stable too. That's leading to like maybe some of like cause when I have a plan, I don't have anxiety, but when I don't have a plan, I'm like anxious about everything. And so I think that plays a role in it as well. So it's like, I'm applying for all these things and spending all my time doing that. But like in the back of my head, I'm like, my sales are down. I'm not planning for next year. Like what's the plan? Like so I don't know. Yeah.
How do you find if you're saying about the plan though, let me challenge you on this a little bit. And I know you don't mind me doing stuff like this. If you get plans, how do you then continue, with your motivation and believing in the path forward? If I want things to go this way, I'm planning for this. just explain to us what you mean by plan, because to me that means like if you don't get this one piece, like almost when people say I'm going to be married at this age, I'm going to have a kid at this age, I'm going to like, what if it goes wrong? So
so when I'm talking specifically, I know I'm getting really into weeds about entrepreneurship in my business, but like planning, like to make product for 2023, I need to be planning my product site. I need my product person selecting fabrics and picking my manufacturing and doing all of that now. And the longer I wait, the longer it's going to take to get that done for 2023.
Yeah.
So that's like part of that. From the financial side, it's like we have so much moving, like we're testing a bunch of different things. When am I going to run out of money? My finance guy hasn't told me, like,
that's stressful.
I keep a lot of my things in my head, and what's embarrassing is I have an accounting degree, and I'm not doing my own accounting because I just can't do everything. But it's like the bank account looks fine, but like, do I have bills coming up that I'm not looking at? Like, where are my finances? So it's a lot of that type of stuff that is missing from kind of what a normal running apparel company should have. I'm just kind of like winging it and doing it.
What do you wish people knew then about launching an apparel company, listening to this? What do you think they don't like stop to think about?
Yeah, you got to be naive to do something like this, which is sometimes the best way to go into things, because if you knew how hard it was, you probably wouldn't do it. And they say it all the time. That's true. Like I'll never do music festivals again because I know how impossible it is, and so for me going into apparel, it's like, I remember my first conversation with Matt from Tracksmith when I was like in the early stages of planning this, and I had a call with him, and I was telling him what I was going to do, and he was like, "Okay, cool," And then when I launched, he sent me a personal note, and he was like, "No one knows how hard it is to do what you just did," And he's been a supporter ever since. I see him in New York, and he's like, "Man, you're." No one knows how hard it is to do what you're doing. And I'm like, yeah, I know. But like, it's very, very hard. And there's a reason why I'm probably, and I was actually on the call with RIDC folks today. The running
Just
industry.
say what that, I was going to say, say
the
what that is.
Industry Diversity Coalition, RIDC. And I was kind of doing a bunch of research on like the state of running in terms of the runners itself, participation in running, and what diversity looks like that. And then also on like ownership and employment in the industry. And I was like, I think I'm the only Black owned performance running apparel company that like doesn't do drop shipping or print on demand. And I was like, tell me if that's true. And we couldn't come up with another one. So like, there's a reason why there aren't a lot of people of color who own in this space. And it's because it's impossible. Like it's very, very hard. And it came with a lot of favors early on. To be able to do what I'm doing. And I'm hoping to open the door as I go too. Yeah,
no, I wouldn't doubt that for a second, knowing you. So then let's go into the REI Path Ahead venture first.
Yeah.
What is that first? Tell us what that is.
Yeah, so REI has a fund that they call Path Ahead Ventures. It's a $30 million fund, and all of this is public.
You say million or billion? Million.
30 million. Yeah, billion would be crazy. I don't know if REI is that big of a business.
I was going to say, I think after I said that, I was like, wait a minute. Okay, all right. 30 million.
$30 million.
Which is a lot of money.
Which is a lot of money. And they have a goal of investing in 300 founders of color, I believe it is. I think that's the number, or 300 founders of color in the outdoor industry, because they know that the future of the outdoor industry lays on a more diverse group of people experiencing the outdoors, and also redefining what the outdoors is, like the outdoors being just outside your door. So running, I never really considered running as an outdoorsy sport, but it is, because, the way that we're redefining outdoors to kind of like, and I think obviously for REI, it's like from a business standpoint, they're like, if there's the opportunity to go get more people, we need to broaden our business and attract more people. So their way of doing it is to find companies that are doing good work and then fund them and put them through a program. So it's a 16-week program. So Path Ahead Ventures is the fund. Then they have a program called Navigate, and they have another program called, I forget if it's Explore or something, but So, and I don't know the second one, but the Navigate is a 16-week full. They give you a grant. They give you money at the end if you want it. That's part of an equity investment. They partner with a firm called RGA, which is a big marketing firm, to help build out your marketing. So they're really investing heavily into, we're 6 companies now that are in the cohort, into the educational point of it, and also putting their money where their mouth is.
Yes.
And then hopefully putting up, the idea is to put our product in their space and kind of help grow that way. It's a huge win. It's a huge win.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to dive into that just quickly, as you mentioned about outdoor being running, not being outdoor. It's funny. I actually hosted a call for Allbirds has a run club every month for the people in the for the people that work at Allbirds, and then people in the collective. And we had Gabachia, who is the executive director of Outdoorist Oath. I don't know if you've heard of that.
I'm not.
It's a it's like a planet and inclusion oath that people can take. It's like a 90-minute session. Anyway, it's amazing what they're doing there. This nonprofit, and she was talking about how I said, how do runners fit into this? And she said that, typically runners haven't thought of themselves as outdoorists. Yeah. And that is because to runners, they think they have to be going in a mountain or like in the middle of the woods to be outdoors. But she was like, if you step outside in an urban environment, you're still outdoors. Yeah. Like, it should be such an obvious concept, but we, for some reason, don't think of ourselves as in that category. Yeah. But I'm glad REI is helping to change that. And then, that's maybe just talk for a moment about the difference of what REI is doing there in terms of, you mentioned they're giving you the education, they're giving you the connection to you said it was a marketing firm?
Yep.
Yeah.
RGA.
RGA. They are, giving you some resources, but you said they're putting their money where their mouth is, they're doing the work. What is the difference with that compared to some of the efforts that have been done over the last few years that are just, maybe performative?
Yeah. So when I say putting their money where their mouth is, they're putting money into a business and taking a bit of equity and being a partner. And then they're opening their roller decks, which we're still learning, right? Because I think what we don't, as a small company like me, and as a big company like REI, what they don't sometimes realize is like what the smaller companies are dealing with when it comes to like trying to manufacture apparel. Like trying to get on a production line at a factory that REI works with is impossible because they don't take minimum orders of less than $1 million to whatever, 2 million, so like we're learning through this program, and I think REI is learning too.
Yeah.
But they're willing to do the work, and they're willing to show and then say like, all right, we're going to like get these group of people, we're going to learn through this and hopefully be able to come out on the other side creating successful companies. And it just goes to show how hard it is to create a business in an industry where like there aren't many, like it's not like you can go to Google and find like really good factories, right? Like it's just not. It's impossible. It's impossible. So like you need these partners, and even so maybe right now they don't have those, but maybe they're going to open the doors as we go. And also for me to be able to be like, yeah, I'm a small business, I make apparel, and I just got picked up by REI. People go crazy, like what? But what I've also noticed, and what REI has obviously noticed as well, is that when I say we've been picked up by REI, if you are a white person, you're like, oh my God. If you're a black person, 90% of the time, you're like, what's REI? Really? Yeah. And this is what I've learned in the last month and a half since we've been kind of like announced, or it's been a month, a little over a month that we've announced that we got it, to now it's like, that it's been crazy how the split is. So then I'm like, this is why the REI understands that they don't see people of color in their space, especially in the urban environment. So what people have done in the like the other programs or whatever the other brands have been doing, they're not creating owners in the outdoor space or in the running industry. They've provided marketing support. They've like signed teams to like influencer deals. They're putting them in their marketing. But like at the end of the day, when the times change, like, yeah, you put me on a poster you put me in your store, but like who owns everything that's coming in, right? So like what REI is doing is they're keeping ownership to the firms that are doing the work, right? Like I'm creating this running community that then turns into an apparel line. They're not like, trying to use me for marketing to drive people into their stores. They're like, let's make sure that you are a successful owner in this space and that we can carry your product and grow your brand. I think there's a difference there.
Yeah.
As we get to retain some of that ownership of what we're creating, which doesn't happen with all of the other programs I've seen, or the other brands initiatives. I use the word initiatives because they're temporary.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned earlier about opening the door for others, and that is, I would imagine, a big piece of this as well, that you then go on to be a mentor or to help give not fast track, but help people coming up to be able to not maybe make some of the mistakes you made early on, doing it on your own in the dark.
Yeah, but what then I also realize is even with the information, you still need a lot of capital. And like I have like people I have relationships with, they're like, oh, I want to make the joggers that you made. They're amazing. I want to make them. I'm like, yeah, okay. You need to get a tech pack to this factory. You need to order the fabric from here. Then you got to put a minimum order in of 300 pairs or 4, whatever it is. And they're like, oh, I'm like, yeah, it's going to cost you, upwards of $10,000. There's a capacity, that to make one thing. Right. And it's like, so we have the information now, but now it's like, all right, we got to go get the capital. How can we get the capital to do that? So even though I do have the information and I'm sharing it, it's hard when you don't have the capital to do it.
Yeah. Even just that few steps sounds very stressful. And I know that's like 1% of what you're doing here. And this is all important for running in general. And I'm going to bring it back to running because the more that running is growing in communities of color, like we want to be able to provide product that goes along with the experience of what we're doing in running space, running that product that fits the bodies, of the people running, and also that like designs and kind of like the culture, our culture in running. So like, I'm very passionate about the full experience of running, not just getting out there, but also, what you're experiencing out there. Hi friends, a quick interruption to tell you about some of the new things we have going on at Running for Real. So Together Runs, I've been doing these for a year now. If you haven't already tried one, give it a go. We have been picking up a lot of people lately who have said, I don't know if that sounds weird. You're carrying a microphone, I'm running with you, I can hear you breathing, but that's the magic. It really is something special. I take a microphone, I stick it on the end of my phone, I go for a run, we do some grounding exercise like a nature check-in, we do a body scan through a body check-in, we do a senses check-in and a mental health check-in where I ask you, how are you really? With each of those elements, I give you some time to think about it, some quiet space, some peace to actually allow yourself to think for a moment about something specific, not as we tend to do, let our mind go off in 27 different directions at the same time. After that, we have a conversation, and I promise you, it feels like you are there with me. I ask questions, I leave you time to answer or to think about those answers. I share with you what's going on in my life. It is going to be the closest thing you can find to running with a friend without actually running with a friend. So you can find Together Runs wherever you are listening to this podcast. You can find it on that podcast stream. You can also find it at runningforreal.com. And give it a try. There is something really special about that. Secondly, I want to let you know about Weekly Strides. Weekly Strides are our Wednesday episodes that come out. They are between 4 and 12 minutes long. Right now, I'm just answering questions that you have given me. They are across the board, sometimes fun, sometimes running, sometimes nutrition. Whatever you have asked me, I am answering these questions. You can go check it out again on the regular feed, wherever you listen to your podcast. You can find these Weekly Strides. They're very short, very snappy, very real, of course. And I encourage you to go check them out. So go find Together Runs. You can find them in the show notes. You can find them at runningforreal.com and go check out Weekly Strides. I can't wait to hear what you think. I think I told you this story, our mutual friend, Kyle Robidoux, who I ran with in Boston for the marathon. We were running we were running along, and I can't remember how far along we were, like 15 miles or something. And he said to me at one point, like, is that person wearing a PYNRS shirt, sports bra? And I was like, yeah. And
That's
I was
wild.
like, it was the only person he saw, like the whole race. He like, I can't remember what her name was. I think she had like purple hair or something.
Oh,
Yeah.
Green. It was all Green. Yeah.
And he saw her and he was like, is she wearing PYNRS? And I was like, yeah, like, you know, because, you know, but that was the only person he spoke out to me the whole way about, like, oh, is like he was, you know, seeing. And that was kind of a cool moment for me to, you know, see it out in the wild, see that you know, the performance streetwear out in the wild, and the fact that Kyle, you know, didn't see that much but saw that. So I think I told you that story, but it was a really cool moment, and knowing that he's a friend of yours as well, that meant, you know, a lot to all of us. So
yeah, that's great.
Look forward to many more moments of that and being like your outfit, as someone goes.
Yeah. You know, it's bright colors. I'm sure the bright colors caught him, you know.
I think it was purple or blue. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like she had on the baby blue, like sky blue.
Yes.
And it's like, how do we bring our loud, obnoxious, fun, rambunctious culture that we bring to running to our apparel too?
Yeah, you're doing it.
So yeah,
you're doing it. I definitely encourage people to check it out if you haven't already. One more thing about looking at the highs, you mentioned about the equity, the financing. You did win you can have to explain to me the name of this. It's a bit confusing.
See, that's the other side, because now when I tell people I won the Black Ambition, white people are like, what's that? Black people are like, oh my God.
Okay.
So you have to have both sides.
Okay,
right?
Yeah.
So it's wild. So Black Ambition is a prize competition that Pharrell Williams, you know who Pharrell Williams is?
I know who Pharrell Williams is, yes.
You know, just got to make sure. That Pharrell put together to help Black businesses with capital and exposure. So he like brings brand partners on, like Adidas is a main one, and other people that and other mentors, and so he kind of put his stamp. He created the prize competition, and it's also, it must be a fun too, because they also invest and take equity. So there's a national competition, and then there are called the Black Ambition Prize, and then there are regional competitions that they do.
Okay.
So I was fortunate enough to win the grand prize of the regional Boston and Martha's Vineyard competition. That was $10,000.
Yeah, which is exciting and huge. But what is it like when you say it was a competition? Like, was that?
So
what does that mean?
So you submit your business for first, second, or third. You put a pitch deck together, and then they go through and evaluate the businesses, and then pick. So they have a panel of judges that do that. Yeah.
Okay. Because when you said you went out there, I was like, did he like compete somehow? Like,
yeah. Yeah.
And so I was like, what does that mean? So
typically,
that makes sense.
Typically, pitch competitions, you go up and pitch. We didn't even have to pitch at this one. I think the judges selected them based on the whatever the criteria was, and so and it was only $10,000. Like, that's it. Like, I don't get nothing else. But like, people celebrated it like it was the biggest thing. And when I posted the REI thing, and not many people were like as crazy about it. And it's like, REI is like changing my business. Like, they are putting money in, they're putting me in their stores, they're putting me through all this thing. And Pharrell Williams giving me $10,000, and people go crazy. I'm like, this $10,000 is going to cover a month of expenses, you know,
but
for the company.
Is that like
less,
when I know I was celebrating that as well? So guilty as charged.
It was the big check. It was the way it was presented.
Yeah, it was. You addressed very suave is the word that comes to mind.
Yeah,
you're like, what are those pants called? Pinstripes.
Yeah, I think they were pinstripe pants. Yeah. I was on my Martha's Vineyard vibe. Yeah, I guess the imagery, and I think what REI could have done better was do a better photo op for their announcement.
I agree.
But that goes to show on like how culturally relevant people are with social and how they're doing it. But yeah, you're right though. That did catch fire. Fire.
But then, does that act as at least something to say, like, wow, people are really starting to take note of what I'm doing here. Like, I have something here. Does that give you confidence on days that, you know, when you are having a rough day, to be like, okay, you know, I'm getting momentum. And I say this knowing that I sent you a message, it was on your birthday, because it didn't register, where I was like moaning about like, you know,
it's so okay. You need it. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe not sending on someone's birthday a moaning message, but you know, I say that knowing that, you know, I have things coming my way, and yet I still sometimes am like, nothing is working for me.
I know, it's so hard. I don't know why. I think because we're so close to it. Mm-hmm. But it does. But what does help is when you and friends like you reach out and tell me that, mm-hmm. like that stuff matters. You know, when people are like, "Hey, you're killing it. Hey, you're doing good." Like, because we're still human. We need that, right? Like, we need that. And so yes, when my friends reach out and send me a personal message, you know, is more meaningful than, you know, sometimes than posting about it. Posting is good too, but I think the messages are what mean the most. I
agree.
Yeah. So now, thank you.
You mentioned daughter on the way. How are you feeling? Forgot for a few minutes. How are you feeling about, like, you know, running a business is stressful enough. I'm sure you've been told that going from a family of 3 to a family of 4 is a tough change. And how like, do you have some plans in place for how you're going to handle that? How you're going to juggle it? Or like, what is you said about needing a plan. Are you adding some elements in to prepare for that with downtime during, you know, what it will be a stressful period?
So for a lot of the time, I just kind of ignored it and was like putting it to the side. Oh, I guess we're having a baby. Like, it didn't really hit me till I found out I was having a girl, a daughter rather. Sorry, yeah, a daughter. And it's like, oh my god, this is crazy. Like, I think before I was hiding from it a lot, just because I didn't know what was like. I got this, you know, another mouth to feed, and it's just probably adding to the anxiety, right? Like, not really, you know, thinking about it. And like, when you put your problems away and you just hush them away, they just tend to just sit there. But so the reasons why I feel good are that the baby's going to be born in December, which by December, like, my sales would be like, it's going to be like September, October, November. Those are going to be like my strongest months, because the Chicago Marathon, Boston Marathon, and New York Marathon. And then she'll come at the perfect time during the holidays, when everyone's going to be home and quiet after everyone's done spend their money. That's what my mind was telling me. And then finally, with the REI program, I just picked up a couple mentors and life coaches that were going to help me, like, set a plan for it. So I feel way better about it. It's like, you know, and my wife has a job finally. She started a job and she gets leave, and we get health insurance. So all that stuff matters.
Absolutely.
And so I'm feeling a lot better, because I know that my core mentor in this program and this coach that I'm picking up, that's kind of like a life coach / therapist, is going to help. And we're going to put it together. And the bigger events are out of the way. If this baby was coming in September, I'd be freaking out, because we got New York, Chicago. I just got invited to go down to the running event, right?
Oh, cool. Yeah. Great.
So I feel good that, you know, things happen for a reason. You know, I don't know if I told you, I probably did. We had two losses, 2 miscarriages, as we were like attempting to have a baby, a second baby. And they would have come, if those babies, they would have come in the middle of like busy season. And, you know, and this one's coming kind of at the end of it a little bit. So I don't know. Things happen.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Gotta roll with the punches, and it's hard, but it's, and if, you know, all goes well, and you know, we have a healthy baby, that's what matters, and a healthy mother too. Healthy baby, healthy mother.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Have you been able to continue running yourself, and are you at peace with where you're at with your running journey now, and into the future as you're into early childhood again? No, that's not the word. You know what I'm trying to say. quietly.
Yeah, quietly and on my own time. And, I run a lot, actually.
Really? Like how much?
I've been 2 to 3 times a week is a lot for me,
Nice. Mm-hmm.
and I'm running and enjoying it and not feeling hurt. I actually ended up getting some inserts, some shoe inserts. I'm actually working with a personal trainer too, outside of running, which has been very helpful. It's expensive,
like strength training?
Strength training.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Overall training, just body training.
Okay.
Because what was happening was I was falling off my business game and I was falling off my social game and I was sleeping later. And you know what happens, right? Like you start to get into depressed. I don't want to say I was depressed, but we get into this depressive state. Mm-hmm. And then you're an entrepreneur, you're your own boss. Mm-hmm. And you're just kind of like make excuses like, oh, I'll do that later. And then I'm going to the office and I'm sleeping later. And I was like, and then I think a big part of it was also my wife was 20 weeks was pregnant. She'd been nauseous this entire time. She had like a really bad first 2 trimesters. Like I think she's about to enter her 3rd trimester if she hasn't already, but, and she wasn't really, she had taken on primary cooking duties. I used to cook and then I stopped cooking and she started cooking. And then, so I got used to her cooking. And when she stopped cooking, then my diet fell off. So I was sleeping later. I was eating like crap. I was just like feeling like crap. And I was like, Sid, you got to get out of it. So it was running. I started running, just going out, no watch. I don't even wear a watch anymore. I just run, no music. I just go. And then I picked up the trainer and I'm like slowly building it back into my life. And come September, I'm going to be back on my game. Mm-hmm. Like fully.
And how important have you being away from that? Did you realize it was important in the way that you felt?
I always feel. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that was it.
Yes. It's always a big part of me is the running is like for my mental health, how I process things, how I get creative, think through things, manage a lot of anxieties. Through running. Yeah. And it was difficult for a while because I had these foot issues, hip issues. I went and saw, so I was doing positive things. I went and saw like a running specialist and changed my running form. I don't know if we talked about this. I changed my running form. Did, yeah. I got shoe inserts and I've been feeling great. And it's actually a game changer.
Yeah. Good. That's good to hear. Yeah. It's, I'm really in a stage right now. It's funny where you said I'm running a lot because I'm at a place, and I think I've kind of alluded to this. I don't know if I've actually told you about this specifically, that for me, I was running 90 miles a week, let's say 10 runs a week, training at the elite level. I backed way off, had 2 kids, came back, still kind of running, let's say 40 to 60 miles a week. 6 days a week and feeling like, well, I'm not doing very much. Yeah. And now I feel like I'm on the precipice of potentially cutting that to 3 or 4 days a week. And to me, that feels like nothing, like barely anything. But I'm so like, my perspective is so off.
Yeah. And here I am, like I'm running a lot, 3 days a week, 3 to 4 days a week.
That was very jarring for me because I was like, my immediate was like, oh, but then I was like, Tina, like you're so, and again, like, a lot of my friends are elite runners or former elite runners. So that's what I see on social media is people like, here's my week, 78 miles, low week. And I'm like, oh, I'm only getting 40 in when actually 40 is still a lot. Yeah. So that was actually really good for me to hear because it's a reminder that like I don't have to be doing 40 miles a week minimum to consider it something.
No, you're right. It's perspective and also experience and what circles you run in. Not, literally run, but like what circles you're in because, you're right. Yeah. Because in my, like all my friends outside of running are like, dude, you run so much. Like, trust me, man, I don't run enough, but for me, it's like, it's just the pressures around running. Just, will you ever be as good as you were before the injuries? Will you ever get back to that? You know how it is. Oh, yeah. And I just can't deal with that. So I tell people, they're like, are you running this marathon? I'm like, I'm in the business of inspiring people to run.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. Well, you're doing it. You're doing it. Is there anything else you want to share with the listeners today, about what we've talked about today?
I think the biggest thing that's been missing, and I think Tina and I, we talked about this, the biggest thing that's missing from me is like counting my blessings in a gratitude practice. Because I know when I actually institute that, it changes the game on how I think about everything I'm doing. And I've been fighting it a bit, not doing it for other reasons. I don't know why.
I gave you an out for this, and you didn't take me up on it.
I did take you out about it, because I wasn't ready. Like as much as I say I'm ready.
When you're ready, I'm here for you.
Yeah, we should. Yeah. So Tina offered to be my accountability partner. Were you the one that told me about? Yeah, it was you. It was gratitude dump. What was it called? Gratitude.
I don't think I said gratitude dump.
Countdown. Gratitude countdown.
Countdown?
It was like 10. It was like, all right, 10 things you're grateful for.
Oh, it was like I said I do every morning.
Okay, sorry.
3 things that went amazing the day before, 1 thing that could have gone better, 3 things I'm grateful for, and 3 things that would make today great. Okay. Was that what you were thinking?
No, that was
someone
something
else?
I was reading about. Maybe it was like, I might have listened to it somewhere. It's like, whenever you're feeling blah, do a gratitude countdown.
Oh,
10,
okay.
10 things you're grateful for, right in this, right on the spot. Or do it with somebody. Like, all right, let's do a gratitude countdown. Boom, let's do it.
I'll do that with you if you decide. When you're ready.
When I'm ready.
Okay, you tell me.
See, Tina's a great friend. She will. She's like, I can help. Let's do accountability. Which we need that. We need that.
I'll work on you. I'll work on it. Sid, my friend, I have loved this chat as always. I know we didn't talk about running specific things too much, but it all kind of ties in, and I think it's important to hear. Because even last week, I had someone reach out to me who said, I had to unfollow you on Instagram because I felt like you had the perfect life. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, what are you talking about? And but then, that is what it seems like that, like, or for you, seeing you get this REI Path Ahead venture, and then suddenly you get this $10,000, prize, and then you're winning this, and you're getting asked to come to the running event. So it can seem like, wow, it's just win. But you're not getting to see the full story. So I hope this was helpful to people. Appreciate all that you're doing, recognize and see you for all that you are doing. And thank you for continuing to inspire me to be better and so many others to be better. Thank you for being a good friend and celebrating my wins with me, for me, even when I'm not celebrating them. Because it's big. So thank you. Hi, friends. Just a quick message to say a big thank you to the Running for Real team. While I may be the face of Running for Real and the voice behind the podcast, there are a group of people who are working tirelessly to provide everything that runners could need within our community, to make our community stronger, better, and evolve and grow and learn from one another. We are working really hard to make Running for Real the place we believe it can be within our community. I just want to take a moment to thank everyone on our team. That is Victoria, Stacy, Sandy, Sally, Maria, Kelsey, Kat, Jeremy, and Erica. I appreciate each and every one of you and the hard work that you put in. Now let's get back to the show. Thankful for Sid and his honesty, his vulnerability, his courage as a leader, not only to protect those who he is leading, but also with us to share those tough moments and to share that things aren't always as they seem. I hope you found as much comfort and peace in that episode, in that conversation, as I did. I know it was very much a conversational episode, but I hope you appreciated that. Now, you can find links to everything Sid and I talked about today in the show notes by going to runningforreal.com/episode 316. And in there, you can find links to our sponsors. You can check out Allbirds. Go check out those flyers. They are my current favorite shoe. Love them very much. And also you can go to allbirds.com or also just check a link in the show notes. And also to Athletic Greens. You can get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 plus some free travel packs. After my fall recently, I used Athletic Greens to help nurse me back to health, to help me to get my body back recovering and healing. And I was amazed how quickly my body healed. So thank you to AG for doing that. So you can find links to that and also all the places you can go find Sid at runningforreal.com/episode 316. Also be sure to go check out those Together runs wherever you are listening to this. Give it a try. Thank you so much for listening. I will see you on Monday for a Together run, on Wednesday for a weekly Stride episode, and I will see you next Friday for a regular episode. I'll see you then.